Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As you guys know, we are going to celebrate our new moon tonight, which is our Hebrew New Year. We know the new year that the adversary gives us, or the heathen has used the adversary to push his new year of everything being dead to worship their pagan god Janus. And we know absolutely nothing is growing during that time. Yet when we look at these things, it makes sense because there is a growth in the beginning of all things. And we see just a week or two ago that almost full neighborhoods were just covered in these white blooms of these trees beginning to produce their leaves and all of these things. So this is the order that Yahweh has given us, and we have to have enough obedience in us to follow what Yahweh has ordained, but then we have to also have enough rebellion in us, enough power to rebel against what the heathen setup is. And this is where that balance, sometimes we have an issue with finding where that balance is, because if you're just completely obedient to whoever's in front of you, you are then at the whim of whoever is leading. You're at whatever whim they decide. All right, we're gonna do this, and now you're doing that, and you don't really understand why you're doing the things that you are doing. But when you deal with what Yahweh has set up, even his leaders have to follow the outline that he has laid out. And it's not a situation where we have the book hidden between the leaders and then the people. The people are reading out of the same book that the shepherds of Israel are leading out of. So it shouldn't be a situation whereby we are being led in some kind of direction and we don't understand the direction that we are being led in, if we read the book like we're supposed to, and instead of basically trying to show up to be entertained. But before we get started, brother, would you read the oracles and entreat the angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may make this a holy convocation by the angel's presence?
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, And let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, we're going to begin today's sermon in Exodus chapter 12. Now, some of you guys received an email that we sent out after Brother Benea sent it to me, how Israel forcibly injected African immigrants with birth control, which was this forced sterilization. You know, and it's I think a lot of people looked at it and said, wow, this is foul. But we're gonna have to go in a few things so you can see that it was foul on different levels. And just in the past 20 years, the birth rate among Ethiopian Israelis has declined by 20%. Now we're talking about people who have already converted to their form of Judaism. So this is what happens once you convert and come under their control. This is what they still do to you. So imagine if these people were separate among themselves, what they would want to do to them. And these are the people that we're giving all our attention to. Our people want to go to the Jewish synagogues and listen to these people. These people are point right out trying to kill other Jewish people of color. They already have a problem with you, and it's amazing. They have created this name for anybody that says something against them, which is anti-Shemitic. And they say, oh, you're guilty of anti-Semitism, which, first of all, is not possible because they're not Shemites. Okay? So they're telling you that you are guilty of a term that they don't even have the right to use. And these are the things that go on. But this, how this goes on is that our people have gotten to the point where we have placed the land over the people. So it's not about Israel, the people. It's about Israel, the land, because you keep finding people, the Holy Land, the Holy Land, the Holy Land. I mean, it's to the point where they make a bunch of money with people making trips over there, people wanting to go see these so-called holy sites, people want to pray against the wall. People pay big money to go get their baptism in Israel. Never mind the all of the horrible things that are happening there. People think that because it is the land, that it is always holy. Now that fits that Sunday morning doctrine that there's nothing you can do to lose your salvation. So now we think Israel is holy no matter what they do, no matter how many people they kill, no matter how many people they do these foul things to, because we see one part of the news articles. What we see is when the so-called Palestinians revolt and do something. What we didn't see is what Israel did to them first. Since the media is Jewish control, it's just like we watch a football game or whatever sport you watch. One person hits the other one. Who gets caught? The one who hit back. And then they're laughing and they get, now they're getting 2 free shots in the ball again. But they were the aggressor didn't get caught. The person who retaliated. This is the way that Israel plays the game, especially when they are in control of the media. So they don't put out the story of what they have done to these people who they have called the Palestinians because they live in Palestine, but they are not the true Palestinians. We're going to figure that out here later. They are just people who live in Palestine. So you have this thing, and their control over the media is so strong that they were able to shun an ex-president, Jimmy Carter, when he started to talk about the atrocities done to the Palestinians. The Jewish media was able to shun an ex-president. Do you understand how much power that is? That you can make an ex-president look bad, and he's merely talking about the stuff that y'all doing to these people are foul. Yet you can bring any person who claims to be Jewish, white Jewish, from anywhere in the world, and they can come and get citizenship, but no Palestinian can. He starts to talk about it, the whole media shunned him. And then even here in America, none of the people stood behind him. This was an ex-president, and y'all just let him get handled like that? But once again, that's not the only thing. When Netanyahu came and spoke to Congress on his own, he didn't ask anybody. He didn't talk to Obama. He came and talked to the American lawmakers on his own and got a standing ovation for every 3 or 4 words he said. They are running this place silently. So when we start, going through all of these things, we don't look to the so-called Israelis and say, man, they are making all of these problems for us, because they're the silent partner in making all these problems. You won't see their face. You'll see the cop that's in front of you that's implementing a program. You won't see where the program came from. See, when we talk about, even go back to the Tuskegee experiments, we don't back up far enough to go and find all the Jewish names that are in the investigation of setting up the Tuskegee experiment. We don't see those names. All you start thinking, then America's holding the bag. America's holding the bag. This what ended up being the problem between Obama and Netanyahu. Netanyahu ended up doing some stuff that got America caught up, and him and Obama had some problems. But Obama couldn't say right off what the problem was. But it almost started a whole nother war, and Obama knew what it was, but he couldn't say. And then here it is, Netanyahu then comes and says whatever he wants to say to the American lawmakers. Even to the point there was a interview done on Putin, the leader of Russia, and he even kind of joked with them, because he's jumping in and out whether or not he actually did order the thing of messing with the election. And he was just throwing out things saying, well, maybe these Russians are not really Russians at all. Maybe they're Jewish. Yeah. They playing with it now because they know what ends up happening, that they have gotten the sympathy of the whole world, but it's certain parts that you don't hear, how they move to a place and then completely take over the economy of those people, and then direct those people's laws, take all of their resources. That's the part that you don't hear. All you get to hear is have sympathy for Israel, sympathy for Israel. But you don't get to hear how they're doing this kind of stuff, forcibly injecting people with birth control. Now, it says here you're supposed to know the heart of a stranger, seeing that you were a stranger in Egypt. The problem is that wasn't them. That's why they don't know the heart of a stranger. Consider this. Anybody is able to move in our neighborhood. And it has always been that way. When have you seen any time in our neighborhood a white person move in and we all go mess with the white person and move in? We don't do that to people. People do that to us. We don't do that to people. Mexicans can live in our neighborhood. White people can live in our neighborhood. Down where my grandmama stayed. And I'm talking about this the hood. You got Pookie and Man out there, and the white girl just walked right through, jogging her dog. Hi, how you doing? Man, ain't nobody bother that white girl. She just jogging one dog and go right up through the trap. They got cocaine on one side, weed on the other. White girl jog right through. Nobody bothers her. Anybody can move in our neighborhood because we know the heart of a stranger. That didn't happen to them. It ain't them. And we're going to show that. Let's begin at Exodus chapter 12 and verse 43.
Verse 43. And Yahweh said unto Moshe and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. You shall not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you.
And when a stranger shall sojourn with you. Now, in the beginning, you look at these things. No stranger shall eat thereof. But then you got to keep going. Yahweh has always made provisions for other people outside of Israel. Now, this is the Torah that the so-called Jews are supposed to deal with. But because they knew they were not going to go and abide by any of these things, they have then made up different things. The Mishnah, the Talmud, the Gemara, these are other laws that they have written themselves. And every so-called rabbi has to go through and read the Talmud. Now, what's interesting is this rabbi has to read the Talmud, but you don't know what's in it. Then he teaches you out of one book that you see, but he has another book of which he is directed by. You don't see the hypocrisy and problem in that? See, the same book I got is the same book you got. Same book I read, same book you read. The book that I direct you out of is the same book you take home with you. So you can't say, man, I can't wait till we get back to the Sabbath so I can read out of that book Sock got. No, you got the same book I got. You ain't got to wait till you see me to read out of the book. But see, now there's a problem. So now he has a higher direction, a higher order that supersedes the book that he's reading to you. So you can't figure out why this book says one thing and he's doing something else, because he's got another book he ain't telling you about. See? And all of them are ordered to read this book. And this book is foul to the bone. But you don't get to see that one. See, that is exactly like how the Catholic priests were directing everything in the beginning. They wanted the Bible to stay in their language of Latin. They didn't want it to be in any other language. Anybody else who tried to translate this book in English, they tortured the mess out of these people. A lot of these people died. Some of them were burned alive for trying to translate the Bible so you can have it in your own personal home. Because the Catholic priests wanted it to be, I'm the only one got this direct. Y'all come here to hear it from me. That's it. And you don't get no other direction. You don't hear no other direction. You don't need nothing but what we got right in here. Well, that's the same thing the Jewish doing. They just got their book and they just don't tell you about it. Go ahead.
Verse 48. Exodus chapter 12 and verse 48. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you and will keep the Passover to Yah, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof.
Okay, so then this, if they're going to take part in the Passover, this is from the beginning. If all of their males are circumcised, then they are then under the covenant. See, there are a lot of people that don't understand the covenant of circumcision. There are people that have gotten their kids circumcised and never understood the covenant of circumcision. They just got circumcision because they heard everybody else got one. So we didn't know where it was from. We just got a kid circumcised. Then you have, and it's funny because then you have this whole Christian push to say, we are not debtors to do the law. Then I read to him, whoever is circumcised is a debtor to keep the whole law. Then I said, well, are you circumcised? Okay then. See, they don't even know what it means. But see, that's the difference. And, you know, in the other places, they had separate books. With the Christian direction, how they got us, even with the same book, they just go to entertain us. See? So instead of us reading out of the book, we just gonna listen to him. He gonna dance, and they're gonna have some nice music over there, and we're gonna do some shouting, and we're gonna feel real good. But nobody's going to read anything, and nobody's going to understand anything, even though it's the same book. Go ahead.
Verse 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourns among you.
One law. See, now this is setting up a system of righteousness. There's one law that is between the stranger and the person that is homeborn. Because see, you have some people that have this thing that, you know, we're going to be able to mistreat the strangers. We're going to be able to mistreat these people. It is not even in us to do that. Even before we understood anything of this Bible, anytime, even before we started coming to church, it was not in us to just go and mess with strangers who moved in our neighborhood. We didn't go paint racial slurs on people's houses. No, people came and did that to us. We didn't do that to them. Go ahead.
Thus did all the children of Israel. As Yahweh commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies.
All right, let's go to chapter 22. Exodus chapter 22. And we're going to read verses 21 through 31. Now understand, the Ethiopian Jews, the foulness about this is, I want to say it was 1980 something, where they had Operation Exodus, where they're going and getting all of these Israelis from other countries, or Jewish people. The only Jewish people that they will recognize being dark-skinned are Ethiopian Jews. So understand, no other Jews are accepted in Israel whatsoever. They will accept them as Beta Israel, as they say. So apparently, you know, there's 11 tribes of white Jews and 1 tribe of black ones, but they got to be Ethiopian, you know. Now that didn't even sound right coming out of my mouth, did it? It didn't even, when it hit your ear, it didn't sound right. See, what you got right here, and you got to train it. It's called a stupid detector. It's right there. You got to turn it on sometime. See, a lot of times you don't have your detector on. You got to turn on your stupid detector and be like, oh my goodness, that hurt. That was stupid. No, I can't. That ain't gonna work. See, that detector there, you got to make sure it's on. That don't even sound right coming out, cause it ain't right. But they can't deny that one. It's too much evidence, so they'll allow that one. But we're going to use that and come through the back way and show you a few things. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 21. You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
In Israel, they have a thing for the Africans who have come there, that they cannot work. They cannot get a work permit. They have to then come in and check in every couple of hours, which prevents them from working. It also prevents them from being able to make any money to feed their family. But this is supposed to be the Holy Land and the holy people. People who are supposed to know the heart of a stranger, because they were once strangers. This is what they do. Now, this is what they do to the people who are just African. The forcible injections, these were people who are actually Jews. So understand something here. Even if you follow all of their directives, they still got a problem with you. But anytime somebody says something that they deem is anti-Jewish, oh, you anti-Semitic. Go ahead.
You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry.
Right. They're trying to make people completely cut down their families if you're at the point of making them sterile. I mean, this then goes back to find all the male children and kill them. But that really wasn't them, so it really didn't matter. Go ahead.
And my anger shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless.
So it's going to be a judgment. So you let people do what they got to do. And when their judgment returns unto their own head, they're going to be asking all these questions. Why is this happening unto me? Because, see, people got selective amnesia. They forget the stuff they did when that stuff returned back to them. See, folks who steal all the time, they be hurt when somebody steals from them. I can't believe somebody done stole my stuff. How much stuff have you stolen? Go ahead.
If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as an interest, neither shall you lay upon him interest. If you at all take your neighbor's raiment to pledge, you shall deliver it unto him by that the sun goes down. For that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin. Wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass, when he cries unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. You shall not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruits, and of your liquors.
This is the first of your increase that is supposed to be given unto Yahweh, our Elohim. But because we have gotten accustomed to the heathen, or the heathen has misused us in offering so much, that even once we come to the word, we will go away from this. It says, you shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruits and of your liquors. Some of us now, see, we done went somewhere, we done got so holy, we can't drink no liquor. Yahweh said, no, that's supposed to be an offering coming under him. He said, wait a minute, you offering the liquor, who drinking that? I'm drinking that. The priest drank that. Boy, when I put that grown man in the glass, my pinky just shoot out right there, boy. What you talking about? Oh, they told you, oh, we were too holy to drink that. Then I lied to you. This is the first of your offerings. This is the first of your stuff that's supposed to go unto the priest for Yahweh. But instead of giving our first, we'll give our last. We find a little lint in the sofa, put a stick of gum in the offering box. There you go, chew on that, Yahweh. But you know what? When we worship the heathen, we wrote them folk $1,000 checks. I know it. See, I wouldn't be able to recognize it if I didn't do it. I did it too. I stood up there and wrote $1,000 check to them folk. So for them to give me one of them good prophet lies. Oh, plenty of a good corn. Now get on out of here. Next. Right. See, Yahweh your Elohim is a jealous Elohim. See, he know what we did when we worship the adversary of the devil. And then we come in here in this truth and turn around and give Yahweh the stuff we got left over. He gonna show you what he think about it sooner or later. Go ahead.
The firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. Likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam. On the 8th day you shall give it me.
Right. The first of all that belongs to Yahweh. This is how you honor him. Go ahead.
And you shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall you eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs. So then we have this order of how we're supposed to deal. Let's go Exodus 23. Let's read verses 1 through 9. You shall not raise a false report. Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness.
Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. One of the doctors told one of the Ethiopian Jews that, women who, keep having children, they suffer greatly. So, we really doing you a favor by, shooting you with this stuff and, making you sterile. We doing you a favor. Right. So then they gathered up these people to do this foulness. So now you got doctors following this plan. You see, it would behoove you to look at the Tuskegee experiments of what they were doing to our people, and then back up far enough to see how it began, and then start reading the names. And I talk about this in my book, Blacked Out, how you start finding all of these Jewish names of who set up these programs. And for some reason, we just don't go back far enough to look at these names, that these were the people that implemented these things. And then the American government, the CDC, took the rest of that and went with it. But it was Jewish people behind that. They went and got those same Nazi doctors, those same things that was happening before, and then they implemented those things here. Go ahead.
You shall not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment.
During the Tuskegee experiments, they had people, they found out that people were joining the military so they could get a penicillin shot. So then once they had a list of all of the people that they were allowing to, not treat them with the syphilis, they put them on a do not enlist little list of none of these people could not enlist into the military. So they were signing up. They didn't even necessarily want to go to the military, but they knew one thing: I go to the military, I'm gonna get that shot. I go to the military, they're gonna give me that penicillin shot, and I'm, but this is after a while, because at first none of them know like what's happening to them. They're being given medicine that's really sugar pills. They going to the doctor. To this day, it's one of the reasons black men don't like doctors to this day. You start talking about going to a doctor, to a black man, and he starts, no, I got some duct tape down there, and I just wrap that around and put some tussin on that thing. I'll be all right. Bruh, you need to go to a doctor. No, I ain't going in there. I mean, to this day, black men do not like going to the doctor. Because understand who most of that was aimed against. It was aimed against us. We do not like going to the doctor. And it stems from, this kind of stuff, watching people suffer from decade to decade to decade. I mean, these people suffered for a long time before they died of syphilis. While they're going to a doctor and the doctor is pretending as if they're treating them. You have any idea how foul that is? And although, just like when you read the comments of the things about the Israelis forcibly injecting these women, they admitted it, of course, after they got caught. But then here's that thing. Okay, so who being prosecuted? Just like they apologize eventually about the thing that happened in Tuskegee. Yeah. Who went to jail? Okay, nobody. You set up a doctor's office and start injecting people. See how long it'll be before you be in jail. You'll be in jail, might be for the week out. You know what I'm saying? So they get to do all of these things for decades. Not one person go to jail. Just a formal apology. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 23 and verse 3. Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. If you meet your enemy's ox or his ass going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the ass of him that hates you lying under his burden, and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help with him. You shall not wrest the judgment of your poor in his cause. Keep you far from a false matter.
Keep you far from a false matter. So this is the Torah that is supposed to so-called direct the people in Israel. Because I understand now, they don't believe in the New Testament. They don't believe in the Messiah, right? So this is what's supposed to be directing them. Keep you far from a false matter. Go ahead.
And the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked. And you shall take no gift, for the gift blinds the wise and perverts the words of the righteous.
Right, a gift is a payment. Sometimes a gift is acceptance into certain groups. Go ahead.
And you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
And therein lies the whole thing. Since you were a stranger in the land of Egypt, you should know the heart of a stranger, and you shall not oppress a stranger. But this never happened to them. They do not know the heart of a stranger in that sense. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 24. And Yahweh is pretty serious about this, because we're just going to, read a few of these. Do you understand that this is in almost every book of the Torah? It is in Leviticus, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. You're going to find the same thing. You shall not oppress a stranger. You shall not oppress a stranger. You shall not oppress a stranger. It is over and over and over again. So when we say this, people don't really understand just how foul the stuff is that's going on in Israel. But you talk to the average person, the first thing they want to say, I'm going to the Holy Land. I'm going to the Holy Land. Like they can do whatever they want to do, but it still stay holy. Right. Deuteronomy chapter 24, and let's read verses 10 through 22.
When you does lend your brother anything, you shall not go in to his house to fetch his pledge. So
we have a certain way that we have to do business. We know here that the way they do business, somebody can live in a house and it is legal to go and pay their taxes, hide from them, and then take their house for unpaid taxes that you paid that they were not allowed to pay you back. That's legal here. See, at some point we have to figure out what our line of legal is. See, just because the government says that certain things are legal, doesn't mean that it's legal according to Yahweh. See, you have to walk in two lines at this point. What's legal in Babylon and what's legal to Yahweh your Elohim. And what's legal to Yahweh your Elohim is what supersedes all things. Go ahead.
You shall stand abroad, and the man to whom you does lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto you. And if the man be poor, you shall not sleep with his pledge. In any cause you shall deliver him the pledge again when the sun goes down.
Okay, now, if the man be poor, you shall not sleep with his pledge. So now there's a extra attention paid upon the poor. Here it is completely opposite. The poor have worse credit and they charge the poor more. You see, it is a completely opposite. But see, when none of these things are pointed out to you, then you think abiding by this type of way is normal. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to charge a certain amount of interest. No. You need to go in your book and find out how Yahweh says you're supposed to conduct business. You pay special attention to the poor. See? And this place is so foul, they'll give, and I've worked for companies. Well, they'll send me out to rich people and tell me to get them people stuff. It's like, man, them people rich, man, they can pay for it. Then they'll send me out to some poor people house and say, look, I need to make sure you get that money. Before you even pull your tools out, I need you to make sure you get that money. Wait a minute. So you want me to go to these poor people and I need to get the money before I do anything. But go to these rich people and put about 3, 4, 5 things in there for free. He said, yeah. Okay. When I first started doing alarms, this redneck trained me. And he didn't know I was listening to everything he said. Redneck said, now you listen to me, boy. Boy, you listening? Look at boy. Now you watch what I tell you, boy, and do what I show you. It's all right. I watched him real good. When he went to white people's house, they didn't have to pay no money. He went to black people's house. They had to pay. He said, watch me, boy. I was watching. I was watching. So when they set me out by myself, I went to white people's house. I said, you got to pay this money. And I went to black people's house. I said, no, don't worry about it. Why? Why? He said, why? Why? I did what he told me to do. Read, man.
That he may sleep in his own raiment and bless you. And it shall be righteousness unto you before Yahweh your Elohim. Verse 14. You shall not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of your brethren or of your strangers that are in your land within your gates. At his day you shall give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it.
He is poor, and he sets his heart upon his money. This place so foul, you get a job, they tell you, well, we ain't going to pay you but every 2 weeks. And then you don't need to put 2 weeks in the hole. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got to work damn near a month then. What? Now I got to borrow money, and I got a job. Can I, excuse me, brother, can I get some money so I can go to work? Wait a minute, bro. You need money to go to work? Hey, you're supposed to get paid to go to work, bro. You need me to give you money to go to work? Man, this place foul. And see, the place don't know it's foul, so somebody got to tell us it's foul. That would be me. Go ahead, bro.
Lest he cry against you unto Yahweh, and it be sin unto you.
See, ain't nobody said nothing to him, so the people don't know to cry to Yahweh. See, you've gotten accustomed to unfair and foul treatment, so you think you ain't supposed to get paid within one time in a month. You think every 2 weeks is okay, because you done got accustomed to it. It's foul. Them people transport money, millions of dollars every day. What you think the stock market is? Billions of dollars change hands every day. But they done told you, this is the best we can do. Right. Right. Go ahead, bro.
The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. You shall not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor of the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge.
Yahweh says the same thing over and over. And I used to wonder, like, man, how is it you find the same thing from book to book? Because Israel think we slick. We be trying to find a loophole. So Yahweh will turn around and make sure it's in every book you go in. Go and make sure you put it in that. Moses, put it in there right there. All right, Moses, put it right there, right there. Yeah, but you don't know these people, man, they slick. Go ahead and put it right there, too. Put it right there, right there. Yeah, people think they slick. So everywhere they slide off, make sure they slide right back into it. Oh, man, I tried to slide out of it, slid right back into it. Right. Trying to be slick. You got something, bro?
Yeah. And now they're discussing whether to put the parents in jail when the kids mess up.
Yeah. Well, you know, what the statement, I know they probably couldn't hear that on the internet. They're discussing whether or not to put the parents in jail if the kids mess up. Well, you know, that was a strategic plan, because what first happened is they took away the parents' right to discipline the child. See, you know, if you whoop your child, this Bible says, you know, if you spare the rod, you're spoiling the child. See, you give that child instruction that they learn when they do wrong, that there are consequences and repercussions. They said, no, you can't do that. We got that. We'll do that. So they were already setting aside a certain amount of kids, our kids, for the prison system. So then after a while, now this is gone and have been successful. Now they want to punish the parents for what the kid does, but yet still have it to where the parent can't punish the kid, but you can punish the parent. This is a wicked place, and if nobody points out the wickedness, you just get accustomed to the wickedness. Kids can call and say, my parents hit me, they hurt me. Man, they gonna have them people at your house investigating all your stuff. That's why back in the day, you used to have them parents say, I'm gonna whoop you, and you can call them folk when they get here, I'm gonna whoop them too. See, that was them old school mamas. I will tell them, come on down. Come on down there. Come on down. I got something for them too. These facts, I got some facts for them right here. Go ahead.
Verse 18. But you shall remember that you was a bondman in Egypt, and Yahweh your Elohim redeemed you thence. Therefore I command you to do this thing. When you cut it down, your harvest in your field, and have forgot a sheaf in the field, you shall not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all the work of your hands.
Right. So now, when you have these people who are poor, it shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and for the widow, that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all the work of your hands. This is your field. But he says you're not supposed to go back in your own field to go and get all your stuff. It is for the poor that is among you. But see, we've become so selfish, we think everything come to our hands is ours. Yahweh said, no, some of that is for the poor. All that ain't yours. They go and try to tell somebody that all the stuff in their field don't belong to them. What you talking about, boy? Knock you in your face. What is mud, boy? Boy, you get out of here swift. Better get my God. Right. Right. But see, we've gotten accustomed to the way Babylon has set things up. And see, these kind of things don't make sense when you consider the way things are set up. When I grew up, there was a fruit tree in almost every other yard. We would walk home and we'd be full of fruit by the time I got to the house. These people had a pear tree, these people had plum, them people had peaches. And as long as you ain't going there with no bag, them people leave you alone. I'd be doggone, you go in this book and it say, as long as you don't go in with a vessel to start putting stuff in, you be like, what? What? Now see, here it is, we was doing this stuff, not knowing, we didn't know nothing about no Bible, man, we were young kids. But we know we got in trouble, we went with a bag, we knew we were doing wrong. When we went, and you know, some of we had no bag, so you know, you just turn the shirt upside down. Y'all ain't never stole fruit before. See what you do, you make a bag with the shirt, see, and then, read, bro, was that okay.
When you beateth your olive tree, you shall not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you shall not glean it afterward.
Now, you have to wonder, okay, you already said this about one thing. Why you gotta keep going into all the other stuff? Because Israel sleep. Go ahead.
It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And you shall remember that you was a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command you to do this thing.
Right. They have to stop reading this because they know that this wasn't them. So they have to keep going away from this. Read the Talmud. Leave us alone. This is what they're pushing their people to do. They were never bondmen in Egypt. When you talk about all of these things, every time they read this, it is a snare unto them. They know this wasn't them. They know that this wasn't them. And we're going to get deeper into proving that. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7. And let's start with verses 1 through 12.
Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Stand in the gate of Yah's house, and proclaim there this word, and say, Hear the word of Yah, all you of Yehudah, that enter in at these gates to worship Yah. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Trust you not in lying words, saying, The temple of Yah, the temple of Yah, the temple of Yah are these.
So what ended up happening? The temple then becomes more important than following the rules, statutes, and judgments of Yahweh. So now, the very thing that's going on today, we're going to go to the holy land, and we're going to pray against the Wailing Wall, or we're going to go and get our baptism in Israel. So now the land is holy no matter what kind of evil is done in it. So you have people that believe that their baptism was holy because they got it done in Israel, but still got baptized in the name of howdy doody. I mean, Jesus. Read, man.
Verse 5. For if you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if you oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then will I cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever.
See, it's hard for us to really reconcile that where he says, if you do this thing, I will cause you to dwell in it. It's hard to really understand that when you already in it. What do you mean you gonna call me to dwell in it? I'm already in it. What? No. You about to get kicked out. No, you missing. You're not really hearing the words that are proceeding out of my mouth. No, if you execute judgment, I'm gonna let you stay. But the way you going now, you about to get kicked out. That's the part, we miss. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will you steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn innocence unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom you know not, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we're delivered to do all these abominations?
Right. See, this is what you do when the land is holy no matter what. So you can still do what you want, claim the name of Israel, claim the land of Israel, but then still do whatever foul business you want to do, and still say, hey, I've been delivered to do all this evil. I'm Israel. I'm Israel. That's why I killed them Palestinians. Yeah, because I'm Israel. Go ahead, brother.
Isn't this exactly what the Christian church is doing? They're saying that the law is done away, so they're coming before Yahweh saying that they have been allowed to do all these things.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is they're doing. Dr. Big Plain will tell you that right off the rip, that he's been allowed to do that. He said, hey, there's no condemnation. Dr. Big Plain telling people they don't have to keep any of the commandments. They don't have to do none of this stuff. Matter of fact, we're falling from grace if you try to keep the commandment. Now, if that ain't the devil, I don't know who is. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 11. Is this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your eyes? Behold, even I have seen it, says Yah. But go you now onto my place, which was in Shiloh.
Right. Now, this is the answer for that, brother. But go you now to my place, which was in Shiloh. See, they tell you once something holy, it's always holy. Read.
Where I set my name at the first.
So, where he put his name is where his spirit is. Go ahead.
And see what I did to it for the wickedness of my people Israel.
Right. He took his spirit off of it. So them people that's telling you once holy, always holy, they lie to you. See what I did? That was the first place I set my name, and I done took my name from off of it. See? But they can't go in the Old Testament unless they're talking about tithing. So they didn't get to see this part. Go ahead.
And now, because you've done all these works, says Yah, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking, but you heard not, and I called you, but you answered not. Therefore will I do unto this house, which is called by my name, wherein you trust, and unto the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I've done to Shiloh.
Right, I'm going to knock it down. And I'm going to take my spirit off of it. And if my spirit is off of it, I don't care what you call it. You can call it Israel all you want. If my spirit ain't there, it's just a bunch of rocks and some dirt and some flowers and trees grow out of it. Go ahead.
And I'll cast you out of my sight, as I've cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim. Therefore pray not you for this people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear you. See you not what they do in the cities of Yehudah and in the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven.
Right, and it's all the worship of heathen gods, which is the same thing that Sunday morning church gave to us, the worship of all kind of pagan gods. And we indulged in it, and none of us asked questions. What is this? Why are we going to get Easter egg? What this got to do with Jesus? They didn't know. They couldn't answer you. They were just doing what they were told to do. Go ahead.
And to pour out drink offerings onto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. Do they provoke me to anger? Says Yah, do they not provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces? Therefore thus said the Adonai Yah, behold, mine anger and my fury shall be poured out upon this place, upon man and upon beast, and upon the trees of the field, and upon the fruit of the ground, and it shall burn, and shall not be quenched. Thus said Yah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, put your burnt offerings onto your sacrifices, and eat flesh. For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this thing commanded I them.
Right. This is what I told y'all. Go ahead.
Saying, obey my voice, and I'll be your Elohim, and you shall be my people, and walk you in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you.
Right. But see, our people rather sit up and have debates on which way to say Yahweh's name. Is it Yahweh? Is it Yahuwah? Is it Yahshua? Or is it Yahoshua? How about you put your time and energy into keeping the commandment? How about that's where you put your time and energy? Instead of all this other mess. Like if you said Yahoshua and then stole his brother car. No, remember I said Yahushua while I was still in the car. See? Right. Go to jail. Get out of here, man. This is some mess. Paying attention to all the things that don't make sense. Let's go to Acts chapter 8. Acts chapter 8. And we're going to read, start that at verse 9.
Verse 9. But there was a certain man called Simeon, which before a time in the same city used sorcery, and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that himself was some great one, to whom they all gave heed, from the least to the greatest, saying, This man is the great power of Elohim.
Same thing we did on Sunday morning when the folks said, I talked to God last night. We were like, ooh, man, Dr. Big Plane is blessed. He talked to God last night. Right. Go ahead.
And to him they had regard, because that of a long time he had bewitched them with sorceries. But when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim, and the name of Yahshua the Anointed One, they were baptized, both men and women. Then Simeon himself believed also, and when he was baptized, he continued with Philip, and wondered, beholding the miracles and signs which were done.
Right. So before fooling the people with sorcery, now seeing the things, and now being baptized as well. Go ahead.
And when the apostles which were at Jerusalem heard that Samaria had received the word of Elohim, they sent unto them Cephas and Johanan, who, when they were come down, prayed for them, that they might receive the Holy Spirit. For as yet as he was fallen upon none of them, only they were baptized in the name of the Adonai Yahshua. Then laid they their hands on them, and they received the Holy Spirit. And when Simeon saw that through laying on of the apostles' hands the Holy Spirit was given, he offered them money, saying, Give me also this power, that on whomsoever I lay hands, he may receive the Holy Spirit.
Right. And he said, look here, I can make some money with this here. Oh man, I can make some money with this here. That's how they use that to make money on Sunday morning. That's what I paid $1,000 to go down there for. Before, yeah, I ain't know no better. I wrote $1,000 checks so I can go down there and let them prophet on me and put their hand on me and give me one of them prophet lies. I ain't the only one paid that money. Don't y'all be sitting here acting like y'all didn't do it. You know, don't act. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 20. But Cephas said unto him, Your money perish with you, because you have thought that the gift of Elohim may be purchased with money.
That's what we thought. That's what they told us. They said the Lord like a cheerful giver. And if we didn't sow the right seed, then God would not hear us. See? That's what they told us. Well, you thought the same thing. You thought you could buy it with money. Because that's what the pastor told us. Go ahead.
You have neither part nor lot in this matter, for your heart is not right in the sight of Elohim. Repent therefore of this your wickedness, and pray Elohim, if perhaps the thought of your heart may be forgiven you.
So it was wickedness and something not right in your heart to believe that the spirit or this gift could be purchased with money. Now think back, now pause, and think about yourself on Sunday morning and what you thought. There was something wrong with your heart and you didn't even know it. Read.
For I perceive that you are in the gall of bitterness.
Now see yourself right there now. See yourself. See, this is what happens when people read the book. They always see them. I tell them when it says thou shall not steal, that thou don't mean they. Thou mean you. See, there's some people that don't ever see themselves when they read, and this is why they never end up getting things straight. Because it's always them. Those people over there need to stop stealing. Those people down there need to stop committing adultery. Them need to stop that. No, you. Stop looking at everybody else. Every class got something to do with somebody else. You ain't seen nothing in you. I deal with myself from behind this altar. How the hell are you gonna not deal with yourself? Read, man.
Verse 23. For I perceive that you are in the gall of bitterness, and in the bond of lawlessness. Then answered Simeon, and he said, Pray you to the Adonai for me, that none of these things which you have spoken come upon me. And they, when they had testified and preached the word of the Adonai, returned to Jerusalem, and preached the gospel in many villages of the Samaritans. And the angel of the Adonai spake unto Philip, saying, Arise, and go toward the south unto the way that goes down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is the desert.
Which unto Gaza, okay.
And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians.
All right, so we know what the Ethiopian look like. All right, go ahead.
Who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship, was returning and sitting in his chariot, read Esaias the prophet. Then the Spirit said unto Philip, Go near, and join yourself to this chariot. And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Esaias, and said, Understand you what you readeth? And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him.
But you have a whole lot of brothers and sisters that say that they self-taught. You know, they apostles. That's what the whole drive to be an apostle is. See, the disciples were taught. See, they say if you're an apostle, see, you was directed by the Spirit. See, so the Spirit teaches you. So that way you can say you ain't under no man. But what they forget is the apostle Saul or Paul was already taught in this word from ground up. He was a master in the law by the time he received Yeshua. So he didn't have to be taught the very principles of the word. He already knew it. That's the part that they forget to tell you when they start talking about, I'm an apostle this. Go out on the internet and go to these other places and see like all these big titles and names that they have. Apostle, elder, this, that. They got about 5 titles before their names start. Like, man, I don't even know what to call you. God done got tired by the time I called out all your titles. Go ahead.
Verse 32. The place of the scripture which he read was this. He was led as a sheep to the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearer, so opened he not his mouth. In his humiliation his judgment was taken away, and who shall declare his generation? For his life is taken from the earth. And the eunuch answered Philip and said, I pray, of whom speak the prophet this? Of himself or of some other man? Then Philip opened his mouth and began at the same scripture and preached unto him Yeshua. And as they went on their way, they came unto a certain water. And the eunuch said, See, here is water. What does hinder me to be baptized?
Well, 2 things you have to get out of there. He asked, first of all, he was reading the prophet Esaias, which is Isaiah. Okay? Then he expounded upon him and preached unto him Yeshua, showing that You go all through this Old Testament and he says, and you see Yahshua all the way through it. So you got to first pull that out, because you're going, because there's some Hebrews that swear, they old covenant Hebrews, and they don't believe in, any Mashiach. So you got to be careful in that. Then the next one here, this eunuch says, here is water. What does hinder me to be baptized? All he needed was some water. See, we think we're going to get some special water. No, I need to be baptized in the crystal springs. See, the good waters of Lake Winnepesaukee. Right. And maybe you should ride your purple motorcycle down there and sing Purple Rain on the way. Read, man.
Verse 37. And Philip said, if you believe with all your heart, you mayeth. And he answered and said, I believe that Yahshua the Mashiach is the son of Elohim.
Right. So the emphasis was not on the water. The emphasis was on what name the baptism was in. So we spent a gang of money to fly all across the world to get baptized in some water and still let them use the name of how to do it. I mean, Jesus. Go ahead, bro.
And he commanded the chariot to stand still. And they went down both into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized him. And when they were come up out of the water, the spirit of the Adonai caught away Philip, that the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing. But Philip was found at Azotus, and passing through he preached in all the cities till he came to Caesarea.
All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15, and we're going to read verses 21 through 28.
Verse 21. Then Yahshua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon.
Now, you're going to always in Scripture see Tyre and Zidon. Some is going to be pronounced or spelled Z-I-D-O-N, and sometimes it's spelled S-I-D-O-N. But you're going to see Tyre and Zidon listed together constantly. Now, we're going to see the reason for that. Keep going.
And, behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast, and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Adonai, you son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil.
Now, verse 22, and behold, a woman of Canaan. Canaan, these are what we would call Africans. All right, now we're going to back up and go through this, and so that you'll understand that on your own. This woman of Canaan, you got Tyre and Sidon, and then behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the coast. So this African understands that they are Israel and says, you son of David. Go ahead.
But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she cries after us.
Now, why? Because the Messiah is first going to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Afterwards, he's going to send other disciples, other apostles to go after the other people, but he must first deal with Israel. This is what Saul was doing, going out amongst the other people. But already there are Africans who know this son of David even before there's an official push to take it to the heathens. Go ahead.
But he answered and said, I'm not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right, this is my job. Go ahead.
Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Adonai, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs.
Now, this woman is persistent. Go ahead.
And she said, Truth, Adonai, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table. Then Yahshua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is your faith. Be it unto you even as you will. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour.
And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. He says, great is your faith to this woman. And this woman was not of Israel. So you then have this woman of Canaan, the same kind of people that Israel is sterilizing and sending out. This is the kind of same type of woman who is then healed here, have her daughter healed by Yahshua, even though there hasn't been an official mandate to send the word outside of Israel yet. So that's one of those things of how you have to consider this level of how foul what's happening in Israel really is. So the first thing we're going to do then, so we've gone to Tyre and Sidon, is read this definition of Tyre.
Of Hebrew origin, H6865.
Okay, so the first thing is, and because we were reading this in the New Testament, they first give you the Greek, G5184, Turus, but it is of Hebrew origin. Keep going.
Tyrus, that is Tysor, a place in Palestine.
A place in Palestine. So people saying, okay, Palestine, right by Israel. Okay, go to the next one.
Zidon, Greek, G4605, of Hebrew origin.
Right, once again, of Hebrew origin. Both of these are Hebrew words. Go ahead.
H6721, Sidon, that is to Sidon, a place in Palestine.
Once again, a place in Palestine. Now, if you look at this graphic and you pay attention to right above Israel, you see Phoenicia and you see Tyre and Sidon right beside each other. Are y'all able to see that? It's in the light green. There's a dark green right in front of it which says Aram. All right, right behind that is Phoenicia. Right on the edge, on the coast, you see Tyre and Sidon. Okay? All right, now let's go to Genesis chapter 10. See, there's some things, unless you have all of the understanding, you really don't. I mean, you'll see that certain things are foul, but to understand just the level of how foul it is something altogether different. So Genesis chapter 10, and then let's read verse 1.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japhet.
These are the three sons in which the earth was then populated from. The sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Go ahead.
And unto them were sons born after the flood.
All right, so we're going to go directly to the sons of Ham. So jump to verse 6.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
Okay, Ham, then we're looking, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and unto them were born sons after the flood. So now we're going to deal with the sons of Ham. So let's read the definition of Ham.
Ham, H2526, the same as H2525, which means hot, from the tropical habitat.
Okay, so read the next one. Now this, if you don't have a study Bible, there's certain things that you don't get to see. Now, these are the things that are written in the study Bible. Go to the next graphic as it explains Ham.
Ham signifies burnt or black.
Burnt or black. So you got Ham. Out of Ham comes burnt black people. Go ahead.
And this name was peculiarly significant of the regions allotted to his family. To the Cushites.
Okay, stop. Cush is Ethiopia. Now, we automatically have dealt with this Ethiopian thing here. Keep going.
Or descendants of Cush were allotted the hot southern regions of Asia. Along the shores of the Persian Gulf.
Wait a minute, stop now. Persian Gulf. Now, them ain't the kind of people that we see every time they show us the Persian Gulf. All right? So, what was originally there was these burnt black people. They try to tell you that no black people lived this high up in Africa. They was way down south. No, they ran them down there. Go ahead.
Susiana or Cushatan, etc. To the sons of Canaan, Palestine and Syria.
Wait a minute. See, now what we are starting to do is we read this stuff in the Bible, and then we see the people who are there now instead of understanding who was there then. See, it would be no different if you gave this very address in Stone Mountain, but you gave it 60 years ago. It wouldn't be none of you in there. You know they used to have Ku Klux Klan meetings on the top of that hill over there they call Stone Mountain. We didn't get the hell out of here before it got dark. To this day, they still got, you know what's carved on the side of Stone Mountain? Those are Confederate war generals that's carved on the mountain. Every street is named General Lee, General this, General that. Those are all Confederate war heroes. And when they used to do the laser show, they used to end it. We knew what it was. The rednecks would be getting ready. When they get ready, they start singing that song. I wish I was in Dixie. Yeah, boy. You knew it was about to get started up at Stone Mountain when they started doing the I wish I was in Dixie. That's a redneck anthem. And they got all the redneck heroes coming off the horses on the little laser show. All of that. So even if we gave this same address and we gave it a certain amount of years ago, the entire population is going to look different. So what we do is we read something in the book and then we look and see who's over there now, and we think that those were the people who were over there then. So when we read Egypt, we see these little people over there and we think that those people are Egyptians. No, them just people living in Egypt. They're not the Egyptians. See, now it's telling you Ham signifies burnt or black. Then it gives you this breakdown. Did you finish reading that?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
To the sons of Mizraim, Egypt and Libya.
So Mizraim is Egypt. So Egyptians were the offspring of Ham, who is burnt black. This is what, because it's amazing how you can go and look at pictures of Egyptians and you see one picture of these really dark people, and the next time you see a bunch of light-skinned people. And you're trying to figure out, now wait a minute, something done happened up in Egypt somewhere. We got dark people, then we got light. They even started putting chemicals on the pictures on the Egyptian monuments, and by putting the chemicals on it, they're making the people light-skinned. So they're bleaching like Michael Jackson. That's what they're doing. They bleaching the pictures in the pyramids so that they can look more lighter skin. Now, let's go back to Genesis chapter 10 and start that at verse 6. We're going to read that part again and then keep coming down.
Genesis
10
and verse 6.
Yeah.
And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim and Phut and Canaan.
So verse 6, daddy burnt black, had some burnt black children, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. So we talking Ethiopians, Egyptians, then we have the Canaan. All right, go ahead.
You know what's interesting is that we can accept being Egyptians, but we can't accept that our people can be Israelites.
It is amazing, ain't it? And it's amazing. You walk around, people got the little unks around their neck, and you know what I'm saying? They're just so proud of Egypt because we can put a rulership or dynasty on Egypt. Okay, we can go back and find where they ruled the earth. See? So, and then you have some discrepancies about being Israel. See? There were some issues that happened there that we don't want to take credit for. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havlah and Sabta and Ramah and Septeka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba and Dedan.
Sheba. Now, when you start dealing, this is out of Cush, Ethiopia. Remember now, they said Solomon was supposed to be with the queen of Sheba, and then they got stories that they had a child. I was watching. See, this kind of stuff, even when you be flipping through the channel, y'all would be working on you, right? So I'm flipping through the channels, get the TBN, they got the little thing on about Solomon. Of course, he white. And then he was supposed to be with the Queen of Sheba. That girl, what's her name, was playing Sheba. Can't think of the girl. Vivica Fox. I said, well, look. So she played Sheba, and supposedly they were supposed to have a child, and then she took the child, back to Ethiopia. This is how, you even have some of that Rasta movement stuff that they got going on there. So, but you notice they made sure, whole movie full of white people, they made sure that when they showed Sheba, she was black. And they got a regular old sister to play her. They went to the hood and got Vivica out. This young Vivica. This young Vivica. I ain't talking about Vivica after this young girl. I was like, is that Vivica? Hey, that's young. I mean, she about 20. This a minute ago. All right, go ahead.
And Cush begot Nimrod.
Okay, so Cush, Ethiopian, his father was Ham, burnt black, begot, which means son of Nimrod. When you talk about Nimrod, we was always shown a Gentile. He was an Ethiopian. So we're now seeing the beginning of rulership on the earth was the Africans. Go ahead.
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Uh-huh.
He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yah. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar.
Right, so now we're talking about Babylon. So the beginning of Babylon was actually Ethiopians. Go ahead. Is that the, you got to the end of that?
Where we
jump to verse 15.
And Canaan begot Zidon, his firstborn.
Wait a minute now. Now Canaan, son of burnt black, begot Sidon, his firstborn. Now wait a minute. Now them people that we was talking about before was Tyre and Sidon. Okay? Now, they up in Israel, you got this Canaanite woman that Yahshua automatically deals with. He don't throw the stranger out. He didn't try to sterilize the stranger. He dealt with the stranger. Now, this is the same type of person that Christ ended up dealing with, who the Israelis are trying to sterilize. Go ahead.
And Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zimmerite, and the Hamathite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad.
The families of the Canaanites. Remember, Israel was called Canaan land before it was called Israel. So it was Africans that stayed there first. But see, we have been convinced that we are just nobody, and that we've been nobody for so long that there's no way that true Israel could be black. Go ahead.
And the border of the Canaanites was from Zidon as you come to Gerar onto Gaza.
Onto Gaza? Wait a minute, now we done heard that. Oh, Gaza Strip. Oh, okay. So it was Africans or Canaanites staying there before. Go ahead.
As you goeth onto Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim, even onto Laish.
All right, let's go to now let's go to Joel chapter 3. All right. Joel chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 17.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehuda and Jerusalem.
In those days when I shall bring again the captivity, that is to cause the captivity to cease of Yehuda and Jerusalem. So, the captivity has not ended until he does these things. Go ahead.
I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
Okay, hold on. So if he hadn't brought all the nations yet, how was Israel already set up as a nation and kingdom? See, the people are hoping you don't read. And this is why they're giving much money on Sunday morning to make sure that all of those people do not read. But even the Sunday morning pastors are starting to refer to their congregation as Judah, even without saying anything to them. The dude who they carried around in the chair and wrapped him in the scroll, Eddie Rome, he will refer to his people as Judah. He will refer to them as Judah. Right. It's the worst kept secret. Everybody know who you are except you. Go ahead.
And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink.
Okay, so they've parted my heritage, and they've scattered Israel among the nations. We keep trying to figure out, where was these Israelis scattered among the nations? Where were you sent? Who sent you? So when it says you shall know the heart of a stranger, they don't know the heart of a stranger, because this didn't happen to them. Then it says they have cast lots for my people and have given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine. They had that little miniseries on the Book of Negroes. It automatically went through how our people were sold by the Africans to the Grecians or the Gentiles for trinkets, for bottles of cognac. See? All of these things we were sold for. Go ahead.
Yes, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon?
Oh, wait a minute now. Tyre and Sidon once again. Go ahead.
And all the coast of Palestine?
All the coast of Palestine. So now you have these people being called Palestinians because they live in this land. When you deal with who the Palestinians are, the people who actually have that land, we're dealing with the original parts of Tyre and Zidon, but that's your land. Go ahead.
Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians.
Right. You can go into southern Africa and start finding a port of Yehuda. Why do they have a port of Yehuda where Israel was sold in the middle of Africa? Right. The Africans knew exactly who they were selling. That's why when you approach an African, they'll tell you, no, we ain't the same people. You're right. We ain't. Obama told people day one, my people are not the descendants of slaves. My wife's people are. He said, no, I'm a real African American. See? No, my wife. She come from the slaves, not me. Go ahead.
That you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them up out of the places whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehuda, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off. For Yahweh hath spoken it. Proclaim you this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, tell all the men of war, draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause your mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be weakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
So there is this great battle that has to take place, this battle of Armageddon. There are these things that have to take place before Israel is restored as a nation. But what the Gentiles did, understanding, hey, they ain't reading this book. We're going to go ahead and present Israel and say that they have returned unto the Holy Land. Go ahead.
Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining.
These are all of these things that have to take place, and these things have not happened. Go ahead.
Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but Yahweh will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall you know that I am Yah, your Elohim, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy.
Then shall Jerusalem be holy. So everybody keep talking about I'm going to the Holy Land. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do this. This is the Holy Land. See, it ain't holy. I already took my name from it. My spirit ain't there. And my people ain't there. But let us tell it. We got folk that won't even keep their holy days unless they can see. We need to see if there's the green here in Israel. Like I can't see when a tree bloom outside. I got to see if a tree bloomed in Israel. Read, man.
And there shall no stranger pass through her anymore.
Right. Not strangers like, okay, ain't going to be no strangers in the land. No, these strangers are ruling. The Israelis are strangers. The Palestinians are strangers. Those are strangers that have the authority. And it was a stranger that put them up. It was America and Great Britain that put them in power. It was strangers that set up the whole nation. And it's strangers that's ruling. Did you finish that?
Yes.
All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 23.
It says chapter 23 and verse 1. The burden of Tyre. How are you ships of Tarshish?
Wait a minute. Why those two even, listed together? You always see Tyre and Zidon, right? They were side by side, being of Canaan. Now you got the burden of Tyre. How are you ships of Tarshish? Tarshish is Spain. These Spanish ships. Oh, okay. So Tyre, the ones who sold you, and Tarshish, the Spain, the ones who bought you. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
For it is laid waste, so that there is no house, no entering in. From the land of Shittim it is revealed to them. Be still, you inhabitants of the isle, you whom the merchants of Zidon that pass over the sea have replenished.
Right. Now, understanding that they were on the coast, they got accustomed to being shipmen and trafficking goods outside of that area. So even as they then moved and were no longer a part of that area, they understood that it was great merchandise and great money being on any coast. When you look and find out where that fort of Yehuda was, it's sitting right on the coast, so they can ship those slaves off very easily. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And by great waters the seed of Sihor, the harvest of the river, is her revenue, and she is a mart of nations. Be you ashamed, O Zidon, for the sea hath spoken, even the strength of the sea, saying, I travail not, nor bring forth children, neither do I nourish up young men, nor bring up virgins. As at the report concerning Egypt, so shall they be sorely pained at the report of Tyre. Pass you over to Tarshish. Howl, you inhabitants of the isle.
Pass you over to Tarshish. That's who you're doing your business with and selling my people. See? Go ahead.
Is this your joyous city, whose antiquity is of ancient days? Her own feet shall carry her afar off to sojourn. Who has taken this counsel against Tyre, the crowning city, whose merchants are princes, whose traffickers are the honorable of the earth?
Right. Whose traffickers are the honorable of the earth? What are they trafficking? You. Go ahead.
Yahweh of hosts has purposed it, to stain the pride of all glory, and to bring into contempt all the honorable of the earth. passed through your land as a river. O daughter of Tarshish, there is no more strength. He stretched out his hand over the sea. He shook the kingdoms. Yahweh has given a commandment against the merchant city to destroy the strongholds thereof. And he said, you shall no more rejoice, O you oppressed virgin, daughter of Zidon. Arise, pass over to Shittim. There also shall you have no rest. Behold the land of the Chaldeans. This people was not, till the Assyrian found it for them that dwell in the wilderness. They set up the towers thereof. They raised up the palaces thereof, and he brought it to ruin.
Right. So then we have, when we deal with these things, we have a near prophecy and then a far prophecy. Go ahead.
Howl, you ships of Tarshish, for your strength is laid waste.
Right. And it is already said, I shall return the children of Israel the same way they entered into that captivity. These same long distance ships. So then when you read in Revelation, when he says the dragon spewed out water to try and deal with the children of Israel, then it says the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed the water. So those same ships, as we get ready to be sent off, the adversary of the devil going to try to drown us. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that Tyre shall be forgotten 70 years, according to the days of one king. After the end of 70 years shall Tyre sing as an harlot. Take an harp, go about the city, you harlot that has been forgotten. Make sweet melody, sing many songs, that you may be remembered.
See, what the Canaanites or what the Africans forgot when they were, doing this merchandise with the Euro Gentiles, as they are selling all of these things, selling people and gold and all those things. They didn't understand the mind of the European. The mind of the European is like, okay, we're going to buy. No, this time. The next time we coming back with weaponry, we're killing all y'all and we taking everything. So show me where this stuff at again. Where y'all get it going from? Oh my goodness. What about the diamonds? Oh my goodness. Yes. We'll be back. The next time they came back with weaponry and killed everybody and took everything. That's the thing they didn't understand about doing business with Europe. No, they only buy the first 2 times. They didn't get that part. They thought they were going to keep on making money. No. You're not going to keep making money. No, we taking all this. We're going to be in business with you long enough to find out where everything at. See? Now, every resource of Africa is being plundered by Europe. Now you have things of blood diamonds. People doing all of these things. All of the harbor work is being done by these poor people in Africa, but all of the money is being made overseas. But see, while they were trafficking and selling merchandise, they thought that these people were going to keep buying. No, that's not what they do. No, they steal it. They need a better price than what you're giving them. And free is the best price of all. Right. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 56. So the very people that are being forced into all of these things, the Mashiach dealt with these people long ago in the land of Israel. Now, Israel is basically, when you get right down to it, they are allowing Jewish people from all over the world to come, but only if you're white. See, this is something our people need to understand as we go to the synagogues and let the Jewish direct us. You do understand that all them people can turn around and walk into Israel, but they're going to stop you at the gate. So you need to understand that when you go and keep the Sabbath with these Jewish people, that the rabbi going to be able to walk through the gate. They're going to be trying to inject you at the gate. Wait a minute. Y'all multiply too much. Here you go. Take that shot. Yeah, you people multiply like roaches. Turn on the light and y'all be everywhere. What the hell? Right. You need to know that when you go to keep the Sabbath with them. You need to know. They're going to be able to walk in. You not. Isaiah chapter 56, and let's read verses 1 through 8.
Thus saith Yahweh, keep you judgment and do justice, For my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that does this, and the Son of Man that lays hold on it, that keeps the Shabbat from polluting it.
Right. We learned to pollute the Sabbath. We learned that in Sunday morning church. They told us this was the day the Lord rose. This is the only day that we have to worry about. They said, you know, Sunday was conquered for Christ. So all our little league, all those things happen on Saturday. Matter of fact, they start the wickedness the night before. They say, hey, it's Friday night, later tonight. 3 for 12 half-price drinks. Devil said, look, I'm going to do anything I can get you to sin. Come here, hey, 3 for 12. You know what I'm saying? Get the half-price drink. You'll feel good about breaking the Sabbath. Now, come on in there. Right. Go ahead.
And keeps his hand from doing any evil. Neither let the son of the stranger that has joined himself to Yah speak, saying, Yahweh has utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree.
So Yahweh is already dealing with this of long time before, that he was not going to constantly separate his people. If the people would walk in the culture, then Yahweh was going to accept them. The Israelis will let you walk in the culture. And understand something. Walking in their culture means accepting them as being superior to you. And then they still give you a shot. Go ahead.
For thus said Yahweh unto the eunuchs.
Because understand something. Hold on now. Go back to the beginning of this book of what was happening in Egypt. It says, the more they afflicted Israel, the more we grew. Well, that don't happen to everybody else. See? So they said, well, look, these people have grown to be too much. So we need to afflict these people so they stop multiplying. So they start afflicting us and we multiplied even more. They said, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. They relieving stress in a different way. This is not happening the way we thought it was going to happen. So then they're like, well, look, just go on and kill them. Just go on and take the little man babies and kill all the man babies. Because this stress reliever is making more babies. Well, everybody don't have that problem on the earth. See, other people take drugs to become fertile and have children. Black folk just pop them right up. What's that? That's another one. I went to the market and found another. The kid just popped right up. You know what I'm saying? What am I? I didn't know I was pregnant. The kid, I went to go get some oranges. I came back with a child. I didn't know what happened. Right. It don't happen for everybody. Go ahead.
Verse 4. For thus said Yahweh unto the eunuchs that keep my Shabbats, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant.
You see that? Those that choose the things that please me. That's what our push is. To choose the things that Yahweh is pleased in. Go ahead.
Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters.
Right. So then it's exceeding wicked. He has told us, you know the heart of a stranger. Do not oppress the stranger. Do not oppress the stranger. Then you have these people who have then, even being the son of a stranger, then joins himself to Yahweh. There's one law among the homeborn and the stranger. So how do you turn around and treat these people, you know, like third-class citizens, even after they've entered into this land and entered into the covenant of walking and keeping the Sabbath? These people are not Israel. And they are not operating by the word of Israel. Go ahead.
I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to Yah, to serve him, and to love the name of Yah, to be his servants. Everyone that keeps the Shabbat from polluting it, and takes hold of my covenant.
Do understand, we can go back into the Apocrypha and read how the Euro Gentiles attacked the keeping of the Sabbath day and the keeping of the law. We can go back. We got names. We got dates. We got countries. We know exactly who came in and invaded and tried to do away with that law. So when you get to Sunday morning and they're telling you that this Sabbath is something that's no longer being dealt with, do understand that this thing was a push and an attack way before even the Messiah got on the scene. They had been trying to do away with the Sabbath. So you wasn't just going to church on Sunday morning just because. It was a thing that was an attack to go against Yahweh's law, because when countries are into taking over other countries, they need for all of those people to be able to blend as one nation. And it's hard for any other nation to blend with us if we keep our culture. If we're trying to walk in the Sabbath and they all partying on Friday night, they all having all of these things, now we automatically have a line in between us and them. So they're saying, look, we could have something if we make these people step away from their law. Go ahead.
You know, even right here where he was talking about, you know, giving them a name that won't be cut off. You see, he did it with Ruth.
Right.
Took hold of what she needed to take hold of, and her name ain't cut off.
Right. And she was not a bloodline Israel. But she had already made that covenant even before she had a man. Now see, that ain't Israel right there. That ain't Israel. It's like, look here, you give me a man and a car and I might deal with y'all. Read.
Verse 7. Even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and to make them joyful in my house of prayer.
Right.
Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted on mine altar. For mine house shall be called a house of prayer for all people.
My house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. So we won't be able to just run people out based on, well, you ain't of this heritage. You ain't of this nation. That's exactly what the so-called Israelis are doing right now. Go ahead.
The Adniyah, which gathers the outcasts of Israel, says, yet will I gather others to him, besides those that are gathered onto him.
So Yahweh is going to gather others unto him and others unto us, being Israel, but they're going to have to come and deal with who Israel is as a people. They won't be able to gather while looking down upon you. They won't be able to gather and not recognize you as being the sons and daughters of the Most High Elohim. They won't be able to do that. They're going to have to deal with you, but also deal with the authority that has been given unto you. So let us consider these things, because we're getting closer and closer to the redemption of the children of Israel, and a whole lot of things are going to have to come to pass, because the heathen ain't just going to give up power. All right? One thing about power, the more you have it, the more you want it. And they're going to fight to the death for it. So Yahweh going to have to do a few things to get some people's attention. So let us consider those things. We do have our, like I stated earlier, new moon tonight. And I think we probably going to have to start at 9 now. I think we had 8 before. The time has changed. So we're going to have to do 9 o'clock. Remember yourselves to, it is a situation where we do have to remain spiritually clean, where we'll have our new moon tonight. We won't stay that long as far as in the sanctuary, because it is a new year and we're gonna do more partying than we're gonna do teaching tonight. This is you know, an Israel party. I don't know what y'all used to. I don't know what y'all think of. Y'all think y'all coming over here and, you know, and I'm gonna be like, hello, that's the priest over there. No. I might have something to make that pinky stick out. You know what I'm talking about? You know, because it's a party. That's all we're going to do for today. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.